Hey, what's up, everyone? This is David Greenspan, welcoming you back to Season 4 of the Mindshare Podcast. Additional podcasts are available at mindshare101.com and on all the major podcast platforms. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems and the Buzz Conference. Be sure to mark your calendars right now for Disruption 2022, which is taking place September 7th and 8th, located at the Liberty Grand in Toronto, Canada. It is sure to be another incredible event put on by the Buzz Conference. Make sure to follow them on Instagram at the Buzz Conference and give them a visit at www.thebuzzconference.com to keep tabs with everything they are up to, including getting the latest copy of the Buzz digital magazine. We are proud to have the Buzz Conference as an ongoing sponsor of the Mindshare Podcast. And of course, Kits is always with us as a sponsor. And I have to tell you, our team keeps coming up with amazing new tools. And I know every single week I keep repeating the exact same thing. But even this time, there's just a brand new feature coming out with email marketing, which is absolutely spectacular. We've cracked the code, just broken the ice on some new amazing tools. And well, hey, you got to check them out. You got to find out more about what we're doing with Kits. This is just a powerhouse of a marketing machine that's going to drive a ton of business for you day in and day out. 365 days a year while you're out doing other things, enjoying the summertime. Kits is always in the background helping you build that mind share so that you get more market share. Be sure to visit more. Go to my site, mindshare101.com, click on marketing up at the top, learn more about the system, get in touch with my team, get an idea of what this whole thing's about. If you're not using it, you got to know more. If you are using it, well, hey, thank you. And as you know, we are on a push to get to 100 reviews on iTunes. I'd like to ask you, if you haven't yet, please take 2 minutes to rate the show, leave a review, and we are making it super easy for you. All you have to do is go to ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Again, you can leave a review, leave us a big 5 stars. We'd really be appreciative. Today's episode is number 188. This is a replay of episode 148 with my friend Danny Wood. The episode was incredibly popular, and Danny is a public speaker for major conferences and global brands with a focus on marketing and technology. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Dan, welcome back to the Mindshare Podcast.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man. You're looking a little... There you go. There he is.
Yeah, you couldn't see me at first?
Yeah, well, for a quick second, it was a little dark, but I got to ask you right off the top. I was, this morning on my stories, I kind of, I put it out there that you were going to be on the show today. And I said, cool. Coming to us live from.
You didn't know where?
I'm like, who knows where this guy is? He could be anywhere in the world. So tell us, where are you today, man?
Yeah, well, COVID really stopped that because I used to travel every month, right? Yeah. But right now I'm in Surrey, BC. And I'm going to stay here for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Whistler, Vancouver, all that great stuff.
That is wicked, man. No, I love it. You know how envious I am of the all the travel that you do. It's awesome.
That's a provincial park right there.
I was going to say.
I'm back onto a provincial park, so I'm literally biking and running in that every day. I love it.
I saw a picture you posted up. I don't know when it went up. It might have gone up yesterday.
Right.
Under a bridge.
Oh yeah. We went for a hike and set up hammocks across a wired suspension bridge over like a river gorge, and we stayed up till 5 a.m. watching the shooting stars. And it's now like a tradition. We bought 4 hammocks so that whenever anybody's there, we can all go do this little midnight hike. It's fun.
So now this midnight hike, I mean, I just want to remind you that you are in the wilderness in BC, and they've got something called a grizzly bear, which likes to, hunt us. What are you doing to stay safe out there?
Well, bear spray, bells.
Do you?
All the typical things.
Have you run into anything yet? Like in terms of something that's, I know out there there's also a lot of black bears.
Literally run into a moose, a deer, and a bear. Like the moose and the deer, like I almost hit running.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it running at you, or was it just there and you had your head down?
No, I was turning a corner. Yeah, and we both had our head down, I guess.
Come on.
I scared the moose until it scared me because it was majestic, man. Like I've seen plenty of mooses before, but this one, it was like a foggy, steamy day or something. Like it was like he was radiating heat waves, and that was the one of the few times in my life I really didn't feel safe, and I was scared shitless.
Really?
Yeah, because he was huge, and I ran into him. He was good. I walked backwards and got out of there.
Wow. And he didn't do anything to come at you.
No.
Wow. I remember we did a ride in, I mean, for the amount of times I've traveled the country, which on the bike, we did one ride. We were out in the West Coast and there was a moose on the opposite side of the road, sort of on the grass. And I remember we were coming along, and as we were coming along, there was just two of us on the bikes, and this thing got up and started to just kind of trot next to us. And then all of a sudden started galloping. And I couldn't believe how big how big it was, antlers and all, right, and then how quickly it moved. And then it crossed right in front of us. And it was, it was a pretty jaw-dropping moment for sure.
Yeah, but, for real. They're big. They're big animals.
They totally are. So tell me, man, what's going on in the world of Dan these days? What's new and shaking?
Well, I mean, I really unplugged. COVID 2020, 2021 really sucked the energy right out of me. Like, I just wasn't feeling like pushing products, pushing anything. Like, I've spent years building passive reoccurring revenue, but I always kept working. So it never felt like passive reoccurring revenue. So I took the time off for myself and enjoyed the luxury that type of income provides. But the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence. I rowing, and because of that, it was just like a feeling of stale, a feeling of like, I'm not stressed, but I wasn't producing. So that really sucked a lot of the wind out of me, the energy, and it was really just that. So I've been focusing pretty hard on getting all that back, like the creative side of things. So I'm excited for you. In the next month or two, you're going to start seeing a bunch of new, fresh stuff coming out.
Nice, man. Nice. Well, we're always looking forward to that. Now, tell me something. I mean, never mind just the passive stuff you've done, but you've been around the industry a long time and you know a lot of people. What is that? What's the number one thing? Like, what are you hearing from agents right now? What's their number one challenge that's going on at the moment?
Oh, man, the psychology side of being in the business and dealing with the buyers is the number one challenge agents are facing. It's just a really tough market. It doesn't make sense for a lot of people to be paying the prices that they are. And so it's just like a scary time for everybody. I mean, the realtors are having the best years they've ever had. 2020 for most people was their best year. If you talk to most agents, like financially, but if you also talk to those same agents, it was the most stressful year, the year that they started smoking, the year, it was just like a tough, weird 2 years with everything going on.
Absolutely. So smoking is the biggest. No, I'm joking. No, but low inventory, crazy prices. Listing agents have definitely been the winners. And one of the challenges that we've been hearing a lot about is that people are looking to take advantage of the market, especially sellers. They're going, well, yeah, I would consider selling, but where am I going? And we find that that's the biggest one. So, when we look at, again, low inventory and high prices and the fact that listing agents are winning, what's the strategy, Dan, to getting more listings? I mean, is this as simple as, run a strong online marketing campaign, or is there a lot more to it? I mean, can you break this down for us? Because I know, this is something that we've been talking a lot about. I know when I'm doing presentations, this comes up often. When we're doing our one-to-one with people, it's coming up often. It's a challenge. And you're absolutely right. I mean, people have seen their absolute best years in the past 365. But I say that's much of that is on the listing side. Because again, they've been really winning. Whereas, people that are on the buying side are stressing like crazy because you're running around in crazy multiples, doing a ton of work for reward, but not as much as people would like. So, again, sort of what is that strategy getting more listings?
Yeah. So I'd say the biggest strategy is to not have one strategy. You should have multiple strategies. So when I first got into the business, like I was super young. Like I look and feel young now. You can only imagine when I was how old? 24 or something when I started. I looked like I was 12. Like my parents, none of my friends and family were buying with me at all. Right. So I had to go pure strangers. Everybody, all the deals I did was all strangers. And so I didn't have one magic bullet. I didn't have any magic bullets. I was just shooting shotguns everywhere I could until I found something that hit. Then I started spraying more of that. So I'll give you a couple creative ideas.
Yeah, totally. Man.
One was I set up a moving box company. So I contacted a box wholesaler and I bought a transport truck load worth of boxes. And then I put those boxes on Craigslist and Kijiji as moving kits. And so guess every week how many people were coming to me for these box kits? Not a lot, 3 to 6.
Okay.
But these were 3 to 6 people that were moving.
Right.
They were coming to me like flies on honey. And the boxes that I paid for on the truck. So let's just say it was like $3,000 for all the boxes on the truck. Yeah. Well, I probably made $5,000 selling them. So I profited $2,000. It was a zero cost revenue to get 3 to 6 conversations a week. And they were coming to me. I wasn't having to like pick up the phone and dial and chase. These were all people coming saying, hey, we want to buy these boxes. Now, a lot of the people had already moved, but a lot of the people had not already moved. And those were the key ones, the ones that hadn't moved yet. And it was almost like a 50-50 for real. So that was an awesome play. I still have a photo
that's creative, man.
I still have a photo of all the boxes set up in my mom's backyard for this little box business I set up. But I purely set it up just so that I could get in contact with people that I knew were moving.
That's good.
Okay.
Come on. There's no way. I don't know anybody else that's done that one yet. You know?
Yeah.
And just for everybody tuned in, as we talk about it, Dan is a marketing and technology expert. And when we talk about technology, this guy knows the ins and outs of all of it. Yet the big play here was to go get a truck full of boxes. I love it. Now, back in the day, granted, tech wasn't exactly what it is today.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's the thing. So when I started, my very first day at the brokerage, they showed me how to do a listing presentation, and they physically cut out a photo from one piece of paper and glue sticked it to another. And I had to show them on the same computer that they printed from how to cut and paste a photo into what they were printing. So I'm like, you don't have to cut and paste. Like, you don't have to use glue sticks and scissors anymore. And then with the maps, they were using map books because GPSs at the time didn't exist. So I showed them how to use Google Maps and to stack all the listings in chronological order and then give that to their clients. It was just like, I couldn't believe how untech savvy the industry was at that time. And that was one of my advantages was that I really did understand technology. So I was afraid of like, when I get my real estate website, all these other tens of thousands of realtors are going to be ahead of me on Google. How am I ever going to get found? So I ended up getting like a regular templated website. And I went through every single page and I changed anything that was written from that company. If they gave me a page and it talked about selling a home, I rewrote the whole thing. If there was a photo, I deleted the photo and put a new photo that was hyper local to Durham region, which is the area that I worked.
Right.
If the URL was like danwood.com/ free seller consultation, I deleted that and I changed the URL. So I changed everything that I could. And then within, I don't know, about a couple months, I was up there with the number one search organically for anything in Durham region. So that was a big blessing for sure. So the technology side of things, the real estate industry definitely has caught up. But there was a time when I got into it, I was just like, whoa, are you guys kidding? Let me show you guys a couple of things. And I haven't stopped sharing since.
So as you say about the URL for a second there, why you changed the URL? Was that so that every hit would go to the same place at all times?
No, it was because if I bought the template and you bought the template and your website was davidgreenspan.com and my website is like dannywood.com, but then we had the exact same /. So / sell your home. So then I changed it to Durham house values.
Got it.
Or whatever. I had to have everything different from the rest of the people.
So what are you finding now then? So as we look at, and I mean, I love the old school, right? Because we know that the old school is it's the creative juices. It's the creative part of the biz. It's the real hands-on stuff with folks. And we're definitely still in an old school as well as a new school business. And it's a mix of having both of those in place. Today, what are you finding now that if somebody said to you, Dan, like, what do I do? I want to go out and find another listing right now. I need to get more listings.
Yeah.
What
So
strategy would you suggest to somebody, or what are you finding from the folks you're working with that is working?
then, so if there was a magic bullet, the first thing I tell anybody that is a brand new agent or an agent that's in a funk that wants to restart or an agent that's switching brokerages and starting over anew, there's the same strategy I share with everybody. And it's this, it's called the nosy neighbor alert. And so what you do is you call your friends and family, your sphere of influence. And the challenge with calling your friends and family is that you feel like, and you probably are, a pest and a nuisance if they haven't heard from you ever. And then the first time you call them, you're asking for a referral. So anyways, my strategy is this. The very first phone call is to do the nosy neighbor alert. And I would try and call 200, 300 people, like the more the merrier. And so I pick up the phone, I call David. David answers the phone. I'm like, hey, David, what's up, man? It's Danny Wood over at ABC Realty. Hopefully you're doing okay. Now, I don't want you to buy a home or sell a home, but I have something that impacts you. Can you just hear me out? And then he says, yeah, or she says, yeah. I'm like, awesome. So again, totally relax. I'm not asking you to buy a home or sell a home. But if you could guess, how many homes do you think sold in your neighborhood last year? And you can be totally wrong. Do you think it was like 3, 8, 12, 20? And they'll pick a number. They'll say something. They'll be like, oh, I don't know, 11. It doesn't matter what they say. I just repeat the number and I'd say 11. Crazy. Okay, so say you were right. You would agree that's not a very overwhelming or spammy number because our system can email you all the activity that's just happening in your pocket. So you're going to see the prices of what homes are being listed for. You're going to see the pictures of home renovations that are similar to yours. You're going to see pictures of the home staging that people are doing. And this is hyper local and it impacts just the area that you're living and playing in. Now, if I was to keep you updated on that, which is totally free, what's the best email to include you on? Because I don't want you to miss out. And then they tell me their email. So then I repeat the email because I want to make sure I have the right email. So I'm writing down their email. I'm like, okay, now David, I really want to make this like impact you. So what's your address and everything, including postal code? So now they're giving me, I've got their name, their phone number, their email, and their address. Most real estate agents, if you look at their database, it's a mess and it's got a lot of holes in it. It doesn't have complete data. So this is a really strong, solid exercise where if you just call 3 people a day, 3 a day, 3 a day, 3 a day, 3 a day, slow and steady. I'm not asking you to become an overnight hero of like, I got 10 phone ringing at the same time. I'm always standing. I don't sit like, you don't have to be like a magical ninja. 3 a day will win this race. And so I take the time to set them up with this information. And how do I do that? I just log into my MLS and I set them up as if they were a buyer. Only their
Forgive me, Dan, sorry to cut you off. These are people that are existing on your database.
Yeah, these are the people in my database that I had a conversation with, and I got name, phone number, email, and the mailing address. So I set them up on a nosy neighbor alert, which is really just a prospect match on the MLS. Only I'm not doing the whole city. I'm doing just their postal code, or depending on the MLS, maybe it's a polygon search, or maybe on the MLS, you have to list off the streets in their neighborhood. So however that works for you, then your system is now going to be emailing them whenever there's new activity in that pocket. It's real estate related. It's coming from you. It's branded as you. You don't have to lift a finger to do it once you set them up. And it's free for both of you. The agent doesn't have to pay any more like fees or services because it's built into their MLS. And obviously the client doesn't have to pay anything. Now, the cool thing about doing 3 a day, so say I had 3 of those phone conversations in a day, what's the average length of time for a conversation? Say 10 to 15 minutes, right? Okay, so if I call 3 people, that's like 30 minutes to 40 minutes. But then I have to log into my MLS and set them up. I have to log into my database and like add all those notes, right? So collectively, I'm really just asking a person to do about 1 hour a day of work. And then the rest of the time, you can run around and do whatever you want. Because if you just did that 3 a day, 3 a day, 3 a day with the nosy neighbor alert, boom, how much more business do you need? Most agents are doing what, 5, 6 ends a year? This strategy is going to get you more than that.
Yeah.
So why not just do the easy stuff before we start paying for the internet and before we start paying for all this other craziness? So the nosy neighbor alert is my magic bullet. This is like if somebody was to join my team and they're like, oh, I want to join Dan Wood because he's all about the internet and he's going to have stuff come to me. This is true, but not as true as that one strategy is just like the foundation for that realtor's future going forward.
I love that, man. Because you know what, again, when it comes to, the tech and the leads and all the stuff that we can leverage these days, it's amazing how we always still go back to that database and the power of it. And very much so within our programs, we're saying very similar to that stuff, right? 3 to 5 people a day, just reach out to your database, call, make sure you got complete contact information, get everybody on your 10-year plan, and then ensure that people are there. So there's always that passive stuff happening in the background, as I like to call building mindshare for you. And that's where more is going to come from. Now, in that particular strategy, are you seeing that being something that's also going to, and I guess I'd answer my own question here, but throw it out there and say something's going to generate referrals, and then,
hell yeah,
right? Absolutely, because people are going to share the information. Now, what about new leads? What if I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, fine, I got you. I'm going to call everybody. Now I go through and I say, I've spent whatever amount of time, and I've gone through and I've called everybody on my contact list, and I've literally set everybody up on that. Naturally, what happens is people say, well, I want to look further out. I want to go further than that. I want to try to find other people, new people.
Okay. So before I'll touch on that. Yeah. But before we get too far forward, there's a follow-up to the Nosy Neighbor program. So that's great for the first phone call. So say I called you today, and then I started doing 3 a day for the next 2 or 3 months. Yeah. Then you haven't heard my voice in 2 or 3 months because I've gone through my database. But now, what do I want to, if I pick up the phone and call you for a second time, this is the hardest thing for us, is to have a reason for the second phone call. So I became a professional fun haver. Every month I had something fun on my horizon that I could invite and include people in. So say I wanted to do stained glass making. I'm like, oh, I want to learn how to do stained glass.
Did you make that?
No, that was a realtor made this for me. Okay. It was my dog passed away, and a super talented realtor gave me that as a gift.
That's very cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
This looks out the window of the RV, so my dog's always with me.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah.
And so every month I have something fun that I can include people in, whether it's like free diving lessons, goat yoga, driving range lessons with a golf instructor, Segway tour downtown Toronto. So I always have something fun every month planned and booked that I could just use as a reason to call and reconnect with people. And most of the people I call, they'll be like, oh no, like they're not interested in the date, the time, or the topic. But you know what? They don't have enough friends in their life calling them and reaching out and inviting and like including them in their activity. So even though they're saying no and they don't want to go, the fact that I picked up the phone, and that was the reason for the phone call, was to include them in something. It just makes the 3rd, 4th, 5th phone call so much easier because I'm their friend in the business. And my second phone call wasn't about getting a buyer or a seller. My phone call was about hearing your voice and you knowing that I'm still alive and you're still alive. And this is the business that I'm in. Passively, you'll know that, but I'm not going to force it down your throat. Mm-hmm. So that was like the step 2 of that.
Love it.
Okay, you want fresh stuff, fresh people.
Well, here's where I'm going. And again, like I'm with you on this whole thing because the contact list, and I don't want to discount the contact list, right? Because I agree with you. That's where the gold is, and it's sparking up the convo, getting them in the database. From there, it's just doing the follow up. And oftentimes, we both know, and many people in this industry know, it's that idea of waking up in the morning going, I want to get a deal. And if you're in sales, it's a natural way of thinking. It's that animal instinct, and good on you for having it. Much the same as we know, this is very much a relationship business. And so the important part is we're actually reaching out to people to build a relationship and just solidify that and setting the, sort of planting the seeds for down the road. Yeah.
And okay, so for contacting cold business, this is what I did. Craigslist and Kijiji, they have for sale by owner section. So I called up those for sale by owners. Now, this was pre-COVID. This was a long time ago. So it wasn't hard for me to work on the buyer side. So this is more of a buyer strategy, not a listing strategy. Okay. So I call all the for sale by owners. They answer the phone and be like, hey, Joey Fisbo, notice you got a home for sale. Is it still available? And he says, yeah, because it's a Fisbo. Just kidding. And so I'm like, okay, Joey Fisbo, I realize you have your home for sale and that you're marketing it yourself. Now, I am a real estate agent. And unlike all the other real estate agents, though, I bet they're probably calling you and hounding you to get the listing, and they're all using the same scripts and verbiage. See, I'm a buyer agent. And as a buyer agent, you don't pay my fees. So I wanted to see if I could, you still sell your own home, but I want to help you buy your next home. Can I help you pull that needle out of the haystack? And if you were to move, where would you move next? Oshawa or Whitby? And then I put the words in their mouth of two of the cities or areas that I serve, because then it creates a conversation. It's not a dead end conversation.
Yeah.
And so I got these FISBOs working with me on the buyer side way before I started like dancing with them on the seller side. I never had that seller conversation on the first phone call, because I figure if you're going to sell the roof over your head, you need another one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just started talking to them about that. So that is just pure free business. I could be a brand new agent in any city and have business next month because of that. The same play on Craigslist and Kijiji. So there's a rental section, homes for rent, and there's homes for rent by owner. Those are the Joe Blow landlords. Mm-hmm. So I call up Joe Blow landlord. Hey, Joey, I noticed you got a home for rent. Is it still available? And he says, yeah. I'd be like, awesome. Okay, so I realized that you're marketing it to rent it out. Now, I am a real estate agent. And what I want to do is I want to see if I could cast a larger net and bring you offers for sale. So if I bring you an offer that you don't accept, you don't have to take it. There's no upfront cost or anything, but I just want to have that opportunity to bring you offers for sale. Are you open to that conversation? Have you ever considered what this property is worth? A lot of the landlords, especially now, they don't want to be a landlord anymore. And if you're a landlord, you got two roofs over your head, the one you're living in and the one that you're renting out. So it's a lot easier in this market, in a seller market, for a landlord to cash out. I mean, the house prices are crazy. And I went through it where a tenant stopped paying me because of COVID, where they said that they don't have to pay me anymore. The government said that tenants don't have to pay. And I'm like, no, this is not what the government is telling you. And I'm not the only landlord that felt that type of pinch. So that right there, all the homes for rent by landlords in your area, and a lot of them don't want to be a landlord no more. And then, so here's the backup plan. So some of them, they're like, nope, I'm in my truck. I got my coffee. I'm on my way to the property right now. I'm like, oh, well, hey, since you love being a landlord so much and it's really, really working out for you, I wouldn't want you to miss out on future opportunity, because we have a power of sale tour that happens every month. And I just want to make sure I can include you on that to alert you when there's power sales, fix and flips, foreclosures, duplexes, triplexes, that sort of thing. And if not you, who? I'm sure some of your other friends must be interested in that too. So I used it as a double down to build my database. And when I was doing this way back in the day, agents were telling me like, oh man, you're crazy. Investors have no loyalty. I'm like, perfect. I got a chance.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the relationship anyway. So what was the difference for me? It means I got a chance. So I was like the Dumb and Dumber on the back of the moped, just snot flying and frozen because I had hair in the wind. I didn't care. If they're working with a realtor, I'm not going to touch them. But if they don't have any loyalty, as long as I out follow up anybody else, it's going to go to me. And it did go to me. I sold so many properties that way. Yeah.
One of our mindshare masters was asking, what was your success rate with the FISBO as the buyer clients?
But I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't track stuff. I do not track anything. All I know is like how much did I spend and how many leads did I get. That's really the only thing I track. As far as everything else, like I was first in the office to turn on the lights, last to leave. Like I was grinding for years, and so I just kept doing multiple pillars. I had multiple pillars, multiple ideas, and I was just always running with whatever one got me fired up and I felt the best about. And that one I'm giving right there, that I'm sharing, I rolled with for years. Yeah. So I wouldn't have continued it if it wasn't working.
But and as you say, the success is in the follow-up, and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because you got to just keep being there, and you got to keep tapping in and keep letting people know that you're there and building the trust. And I mean, those cliche, know you, like you, trust you. That's what's going to be. So, yeah.
Set them up on the nosy neighbor alert. get
Right.
them up, like just enroll them in all the different programs that you have, as many as you can.
So now let's say this, I'm doing the dirty work and I'm saying that this is the active touch points. This is where I've got to be involved. I've got to pick up the phone. I've got to make the calls. I've got to reach out to people. I'm doing all this stuff. And I want to bring in new people. And so we've talked about, let's say, the Kijijis and the classifieds and that nature. What is something else that you're seeing that, or maybe if we look at it differently, like that real step-by-step to generate new leads and then actually convert those leads? Right. So if I wanted to go out and I wanted to just generate leads, like, is this, I mean, dude, we know that the industry itself has sort of pegged this term of like lead gen, and people automatically kind of go online.
Yeah, right.
It's one way to do it. And as you just said, it's multiple pillars, or we'll say cross-channel marketing, right?
Yeah.
But if somebody wants to generate new leads, is the best place to go online right now?
Well, it makes sense that if a person in your city or even in your farm area, if you're a realtor and you have a geographic farm, you only have, the cool thing of the digital ads is that you can be super hyper focused on who you're hitting with the ad. So I could, if I wanted to, on Google, for example, target anybody who's in my farm area that is searching these specific words. So house values, home values, how to sell my home, list my home for sale. Like I could just dominate the most obvious, like those are obviously people that are searching because they want to sell their home, most likely. Mm-hmm. And so if a person is in my farm area, I would be wanting to be on the top of that Google search result for sure.
Okay.
That's a no-brainer. So if an agent was like, hey, I want to give somebody my money for digital online ads, the first place I would look at is Google pay-per-click targeting seller terms.
Okay. So now, so let's go further to that then and say, how do I go about doing that? What am I doing?
Oh, well,
like, I get it. I want to be at the top, pay-per-click. So what do I do? Go to Google AdWords?
The short version would be to make sure you have a website that has a page talking about house values and selling your home. So you need that URL. Then you have to go to Google and type in Google Ads and create a Google ad account. And then you have to do a traffic campaign because you want to drive traffic to your page. And then you need the list of the keywords and you put them all together. I did a webinar. If anybody wants, they can take a peek at that.
For real, man. And on that, what kind of dollars should somebody be thinking about spending then if they really want to generate? Like, what is it? Just that average? I mean, if I said I want to go for the online thing, do I got to put $500 a month, $1,000 a month, $10,000 a month? What is that number?
Yeah, no. And when I talk to most agents, I'm like, hey, what's your budget? It's zero.
Yeah, like, nobody knows what their budget is. Yeah.
So realistically, though, I'd say between 200 to 600 is where most people fit.
Okay.
I wouldn't even look at anything less than 200.
Yeah. Okay.
And then not too many agents go above the 600 mark. I mean, there are, but we're talking most, I'd say 200 to 600 is where you'll be sitting.
Okay. So we've got a farming area that we're going after. We've decided to go after that. We're going to use a bunch of different channels. I'm putting some money into this. And now let's just say from the online lead, I am generating a lead. From the online strategy, I'm generating a lead. What's that step to converting? Is it very similar to what you said about those calls you did with put them in the database, et cetera?
Dude, yeah. So it doesn't matter where the lead comes from, whether it's Facebook or Google, or it's like another company, or you're doing it. It's still always 2 to 4% conversion rate. That's like the average.
2 to 4%.
So for every 100 leads that you get, you should get 2 to 4 deals. Is what it should be. I mean, obviously, anything higher is better, but sure. Average numbers 2 to 4%. And the only way that like so many of our internet leads that converted were 2 years, 3 years old.
Got it.
And most agents are like falling off at the 6 month, 8 month mark. It's like, no, a lot of the people that you're getting into your system, they're not right. They're not moving this year. They're moving next year. And you have to have a system in place for that. I have a seven touch drip plan. It's like the foundation. It's not like, oh, you only need 7 touches because you need more than that. But it's like the foundation that I use. And it's funny, in one of the emails that goes out, it talks about becoming a realtor. And did you know that's the number one email that we get replies back to?
Really?
From
Even
the people,
that were just doing home searches.
Yeah, the people that never responded to anything. That one email, really, I don't know what it. Well, I guess people are interested, so they reply to that one. So, anyways, you need a 7-touch drip plan, and I got a copy of that as well. David, when we're done, your show notes, I'll include the links to the.
Appreciate it. Yes, please. Thank you. As always, 100%, man. So now working with a ton of realtors, and we're talking about, both going after the database, and we're talking about going after the farm area, or sort of that. And farm area could be geographically targeted. It could be doing it online. It could be physical. Where do the majority of realtors see their business from? The contact list or the farm area?
Oh, well, majority of agents don't have a farm area. So that would mean that the majority of agents, they get their business from their contact list.
And even if they had a farm area, we've just talked about the fact that you naturally just need to get those people into your database anyways, spend 2 to 3 years doing follow-up, and that's where you're going to convert. So it always comes back to the contact list, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We're finding texting is really working these days. So
like mass
if your
texting,
database,
though?
Yeah. Well, not blind, not like, oh, the elections are here, vote for us type of thing. Like, I'm not just doing that blindly, but it's people that are already in our system.
Yep.
And so there's a tool. My phone's up here. I'm looking for my phone. It's because I'm looking into it. So anyways, there's a tool called Reach, REACH.
Mm-hmm.
It's an app on your phone, and it allows you to text people directly from your phone in mass. So I say all those people I'm doing the nosy neighbor alert. Maybe my new follow-up plan would be to find out, hey, if we did a monthly stat update of what the stats are, would you be interested in receiving that? And the people that say, yeah, I would text it to them. So every month we would just type up a little, this is what the averages are. This is how many sales there were, blah, blah, what the stats things look like. And so I would just text that out, and I would use Reach, but it comes directly from my cell number. Whereas other texting services, it comes from some weirdo 416, it's just a different number. It's not even your number at all. And so when the people get it, they're like, who's this? Because they have you saved in their phone as David Greenspan with whatever your actual phone number is. And with Reach, it allows me to mass text people, and it comes directly from my cell number. And that way, when they look at it and reply, it comes back to my cell number.
So are you finding better response rates from text message when you do those things? Like if you did a group text and a group email to the same group, are you getting better responses on the text message?
Not even a question. I wouldn't even send the email. I mean, I do, but there's just so much more value in sending the text. Email is not dead, but texting is the home run hitter.
Yeah, from a mass text perspective, I don't like it. In terms of if it's blind, when I'm getting Roger sending me coupons to go to McDonald's or something like that. Yeah. I don't care for that stuff. I'm like, where did you even get my number from? Right. Now your stuff comes through, and you can see that it comes through, and legitimately until sort of tap in and you realize what's going on. Yeah. I mean, it looks good regardless, but it comes through and you actually see it. You pay attention to it. But again, that's, very clearly, and I at least from my end of the table here, I would say that, just to be clear, that's not a mass text to strangers. This is not spam. These are people
this is only people that you've already talked to that are already in your system and already open to receiving your communication. Wow. And I would have found out, hey, we got this monthly thing we send out. Can I include you? It's by text. I'd be clear about it. Yeah.
Well, okay. And just to that too, just for everybody going, hold on a second, I got to do this stuff. That does fall under the anti-spam legislation when it comes to, again, if you didn't get, and Danny just said he got consent, people said, yes, put me on the list. That is completely allowed. That being said, if you start to get these numbers and you start to compile them, you don't ask for permission, you don't tell people that you're going to do it, you are violating Canada's anti-spam legislation. So, I mean, what's the way to get around that? Just pose the question. Hey, are you open to receiving this? Yes, I am. Put it in. And my sort of backup that I would suggest to anybody is just document that, right? Go put a date, spoke to Danny on this day, and, he gave me permission and said, yeah, you can go ahead and you can text me. Right now, I've got it documented. And chances are Danny didn't document it when he told me yes. So if he ever goes back and says after the fact, well, never told you could do that. Well, yeah, you did. It happened on September 22nd, 2021 at 1 p.m. Eastern time. right? So just ways to get around that. So now, as we talk about text, we talk about email, we've talked about the phone call. What other channels? I even brought up, the farming, right? What other channels, though, should agents be focused on leveraging every day? So, and I love what you brought up around, 3 to 5 calls a day, or 3 calls, as you said it. It's about 60 minutes of your day. Then you can do the other things. What kind of other things, and I refer to these as IPAs, income producing activities, would you suggest that people are doing, and what channels should they be using for those?
So many. Okay, so the one thing that really, 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 really worked out for me, and a lot of people aren't going to like this, so hear me out, was door knocking. And I'll tell you the story of why it was so impactful. So I wanted to buy a home for myself that I could buy and rent out and be cash flow positive. And that was a real challenge for a single family home. And nothing was available. So I went to the MLS and I searched any home that ever fit my criteria. And then what I did was I went and door knocked those streets, not that specific home. Like I did do the specific home, but I did the whole street, assuming if that person kind of fit our criteria, the other people on the same street would probably be very similar. So my approach was, say I door knocked 6 streets that day. I would have 6 different stacks of paper because each stack had the map printed of the street that I was door knocking, because when people look at the paper, they see their map of the street, and now they're intrigued at like, what's going on here? It's like my street type of thing. So my approach was this: I would knock on the door, and then as soon as they open the door, I would take 3 steps back to show I'm creating trust and space and breathing room. And this is pre-COVID, but after COVID, like next year, maybe you can still do it. Anyways, just take the idea for a second. So I knock on the door, they open it, I take a step back, and I'm like, hi, I'm not expecting that you're thinking of selling or not, but we really want to buy a home in this area. And I pull out the paper and I start tapping on the map. They look down at the map. I clap the piece of paper and it like jars them, and because they're not looking at me anymore, they're looking at the map, and I don't want them reading. So I cover it with my hand, and they're looking back up at my eyes. I'm like, no, this is for you to keep in case you think of anybody after you steer me away. Who do you know in this area that's thinking of making a move? Because we're really being proactive. Because I give them full permission to get rid of me, the conversations, I never had one bad conversation. We ended up buying 2 houses privately before they hit the market. And then we started doing it for all of our buyers. And we wrote up a story of who our buyer was, why they wanted in that area. And then I would go do the door knocking. So this is one thing that I track. For every 1 hour that I door knocked, I got 2 appointments.
How many houses were you hitting in an hour? Do you know? Roughly?
Not conversations, appointments. I was actually getting buyer, seller, 2 appointments per hour for every hour that I was door knocking. And how many houses? It would depend, because sometimes I was doing the larger detached, and you'd have to like run up the driveway, down the street, down the driveway. And it was like a lot of like hopscotch or whatever. Yeah. I don't know it was a lot of running around. Yeah. So anyways, the best was townhouses because it was a shorter walk door to door.
Yeah.
So the size of the doors matter. Yeah. But anyways, that approach, I'm telling you, like right now it's tough with COVID. Knocking on a door, it's kind of cold out, you're a weirdo, right? But if you like this idea, maybe it's something you could do next spring, next summer, right? And it's certainly something I would suggest, because to get 2 appointments per hour, I don't know anything else that anybody's doing that's getting them 2 appointments per hour.
I would I would sit back and agree with you wholeheartedly. It is definitely not a popular suggestion that you presented. No. But I will say that, and the stat that I've got now through, and we've both been doing this a long time together, 96% of agents don't door knock. Of the 4% who do, 99% of them say they see business from it. So it says that there's
that's a high number.
It's huge, man. I mean, but think about how many times you've asked the question of people and seeing how many people door knock versus how many people don't. Most people don't. The people that do, typically speaking, they're going, I've seen business from it, right? And so, that's something I've been tracking for a number of years now, because it is one of those very old school ways of going about building your business. And it's something that we all as homeowners don't appreciate necessarily when some random salesperson comes to the door. I mean, personally, and I've said this many times, I love when a realtor knocks on my door. They don't realize whose door they knocked on. So we have a lot of fun we have a lot of fun at the door, right? but it's something that we know it always bears fruit for people. And I would say that, yes, we're in this crazy time of COVID. Guys, we thought, 18 months ago, this thing might have been, about 6-8 weeks and we'd be kind of out of it. And here we are 18 months later, 20 months later, whatever it be. And the reality is you got choices. You could decide to not leverage some of these things that work, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to take all the precautions I need to. I'm going to do it in the best, most professional way possible, where we are allowed. So we know sometimes they say like, you're not allowed to go do this. Other than that, I would suggest get out there and do what you got to do, right? If we continue to wait for this market and for this thing to end and for the market to change, you're going to be passed by many people, so get out there and do stuff.
So a lot of the people didn't answer the door, but they called me back from the paper I left behind. So if you don't want to
leave it in the handle or in the mailbox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a company called Uline, and they sell these door hanger baggies that will give you a safe, clean space to put your stuff in, and on the door handle. They're really cheap. So Uline, it's Canadian. Go to uline.ca or whatever, and then door hanger bags or whatever. So those things work good. So you don't actually have to do the door knocking part. You could just do direct mail with the same pamphlet that I had.
Yep.
Yeah. And speaking of that, so in this market, if you have a home that you sell, I 100% would be doing direct mail to that neighborhood. 100%. If I had a farm area, every time there was a sale in my area, whether it was by me or not, I would do a direct mail. And I just wouldn't be specific about that property selling. I would say another home sold.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I would kind of maybe do a general one. But anytime a home sells in an area, 50 houses up, 50 houses down, drop mail. 50 houses up, 50 houses down, drop mail. You can just do a strategy of that, and that works.
Absolutely.
You don't have to do the door knocking.
No, you don't have to. And I think that it's good. I think that the door knocking will support that mail. I think if you drop that mail and then you back it up with a door knock, now you're going, hey, did you see that? And most people say no. Say, well, actually, I sent it to you back on. And that's why I came by today. I just want to let you know about it, just in case you missed the piece of mail. Not here to sell you anything. Just wanted to make you aware of what's going on in the neighborhood. And at that point, when they realize that you're not there to sell something, oftentimes, just like we said, they will start to ask questions.
I got one everybody can do today.
Yeah, go for it.
There's a fun one. On Instagram and Facebook, you can do a story. Very, very short. It's just like a little post that disappears within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, on that story, just ask the question, are you thinking of moving this year? When was the last time you did that in your story? Most people are going to say, I haven't. And so if you do it, maybe you get one or two. Who knows? Use
the little question. Question thing.
Are you thinking of selling this year or next year? It all it takes is one to be worthwhile. And if you don't get any, you weren't getting any anyways because you didn't post the question.
Absolutely. And for everybody that does that, what you do then is once you've posted that, after a little bit of time, a few minutes, an hour, a few hours, the rest of the day before it disappears. In fact, you could go back to it after the fact anyways in your feed. But when you get to that post in your stories, you just swipe up and it'll actually show you the results and it'll give you answers. And if you did a poll, it's like the other day, somebody had mentioned to me and texted me and said, like, I'm finding social media is incredibly negative these days. So I kind of took the post, like the text message, and I obviously screen clipped like the name out of it. But I said, like, I kind of put that up in a story and then put there as a poll. Do you find social media is negative these days? And yes or no. And I will say answers to that, just so everybody's aware, 97% of people said, yes, social media is has a negative vibe to it these days.
Dude, me too. That's why I unplugged.
I give you massive credit for unplugging. And I know a few people have said that, sort of cut you off there. I am envious of it. No joke. As we broadcast live to Facebook right now. But seriously, man, it's on another level, this stuff, right? The media is wild out there. So here, talk about social media for a second then. Is a heavy social media strategy the key to a successful real estate business? I mean, what's the reality, Dan, about the time that people invest in social versus the return on ROI of that time?
Most of them are just failing at it. So I feel like there's a couple people that look really good and they have huge accounts. And then there's a lot of other people that want to emulate that. And here's the deal. So it's 80-20. So 80% of what you post should be you. positive, colorful, share worthy, personal. And then the other 20% should be business. That's the way I like to roll. If you look at anything I do, Instagram, Facebook, the only thing that's pure business is YouTube. That's just straight up business, 100%. But for my personal stuff, Facebook and Instagram, I like the idea of the 80-20 rule. And it's not end all and be all for everybody has to be on social media. I know a lot of old school agents that aren't on it and they're killing it. They don't need social media. I know some agents that only do prospecting and nothing else. Like there's so many ways that we can survive and thrive in this industry. You don't need to wear all the hats. But anyways, so social media, it's tough because there's a lot of like organic content creation and you don't see a lot of results. What I mean is you take a full day to build up the courage to turn on a camera, to get all dressed up, to say something into the camera. Then you have to edit this thing and then you post it on social media. Well, you've got a 3-day shelf life before that video doesn't get another like, view, comment, share, or anything. And you're like, shit, man, I just spent a full day on this and I got 200 views. Like, what? I didn't even get business from it. And so it's heartbreaking. So look at, if you're wanting to build your social media, take a look at your buyer follow-up plan and your seller follow-up plan and look at all of the touches in those and use those as the content that you're going to create, because then it's not just got a 3-day shelf life. It's now like maybe I get a buyer in 3 months and they get put on the drip plan. Well, now all that content is new to them. It doesn't have to be new to me, right? So if you are going to start creating and building content, look at content that you can use over and over and over again. Look at your buyer page and your seller page. Does it have a video? Probably not. Okay, well, that's the first 2 videos you should make, you know? If I go to, I'm going to go to, what city do you live in?
Toronto.
Oh, you live in Toronto. Okay. Hold on a second. I just did a little Google search. So I'm doing a little search and I scroll down. Okay. So apparently in Google's eyes, if I just type in the word Toronto and nothing else, the top 3 questions people are asking is Toronto a fun city to live in? Is Toronto a bad city? What is Toronto used for? I don't even know what that means. But anyways, the first 2, I would say voting. Toronto is used for voting. But anyways, so the first 2 would be topics that I would want to create, because this is what Google is telling me is like the number 1 search thing for that city. So and let me just add the word, well, I don't have to add anything. So is Toronto a fun city to live? That would be a really cool YouTube video for you to make and answer that question. And hell yeah, Toronto's a fun city to live in. You could and the word live in, I love how is Toronto a fun city to live in? A lot of people that are outside of the area in other parts of the world that are moving to Toronto, they search things like living in Toronto.
Very good point,
right?
man.
Yeah.
Very
so that could be like a fun little series that you could do. And so if I was to take that like a little step further, I'd be like, okay, so who are all the people I know that have fun spaces? Who are the business owners and operators that have cool, unique businesses like the Segway Tour, you know, or like the cool pizza shop or whatever. And I could include them and I could go in and be like a little podcast type of show and create content based on that. But that was a long-winded answer on the social media content that you should be creating. I'd say 80-20, 80% you, positive, colorful, share-worthy. You know what I mean? These are the things that people are striving for on social media, because the number 1 answer you had was that it's a negative place. So if you look at your feed and most of it is negative, you're the reason people are popping off. So if you go to my feed, it's only colorful, positive, share-worthy, or I don't see a point in me posting it. Right. And so if I was to create content for a real estate business, I would first look at my buyer follow-up plan and my seller follow-up plan and any landing pages. If you have a seller page and a buyer page, maybe you have about you and about the team page, I would have a video about each of those. And that's content that I'd be creating.
What about optics? You'd mentioned that there's people that have these accounts and then they do their thing, and then so many other people try to emulate that and try to grow, but it doesn't really work. Do we believe truly that many, not all, but many of the people that we see on Insta that have these, 10, 20, 30,000 followers, that they got that organically, or is there something to say that a lot of that was paid for? And what's the thought on paying for followers to build up your brand?
I never would pay for followers. Never. Yeah, I never did, and I never will.
No.
It just seems the only thing you're going to be paying for is like freaking weirdos that don't who goes around and likes stuff that they don't already know or like.
It's bots.
You know
it's weirdos for sure.
Yeah, it is totally just me giving Facebook money for like ego because I want to have a higher number. I don't care about this high number.
It's personal ego, right?
Yeah. So all I would care about is personal interaction. That's the only thing you should track.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And again, not get caught up in vanity metrics.
Oh my God. Yeah. The other one's dumb.
Right.
I don't even care about numbers. Yeah.
Like you mentioned Reach. What's another app or tool? Because I know you've always got a list of some wicked tools and techs and apps that people should be leveraging. Is there something that's there? I mean, again, Reach was a great suggestion there for some, if they want to get into that part.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd throw out there and say?
Yeah. If you have traffic, write this down. If you don't have traffic, don't write this down because it costs you $250.
Traffic where?
But if you do have on your website.
Okay.
So if you've got a website and you're like, yeah, I've got a website, but nobody goes to it, you don't need to listen to what I'm about to say. But if you do have traffic, write this down. It's called sumo.com, SUMO.com. And what Sumo does is, when you go to a website, as soon as you get there, it pops up. It's like, hey, it takes up the whole screen. It's like, hey, subscribe to us. It's really obnoxious and annoying and nobody likes it. That's what Sumo is, but it does it intelligently. So it won't pop up until you go to leave the website. So you could be watching all my videos, looking at all the listings, and it never interrupts your enjoyment of the website. But once you're leaving, like, do you want fries with that? You're already at the door. I might as well ask. So you're about to leave anyways. As soon as your little cursor goes to change the URL, hit the back arrow or close the browser, as soon as that mouse goes over that little bar, boom, it pops up. And then we'd be like, hey, the house values are crazy. You get an updated report on your area or whatever.
What's the cost of Sumo?
That $250 a year, okay. US.
Cool.
Yeah.
But again, it's exactly that. It's the upsell right at the end. Right? Do you want fries with that? I love that.
Yeah, they're already gone out the door. We get 8%, by the way. So if I get 100 people to my website, 8 of them are giving me their contact info because of that tool. That's a big number.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So we've looked at technology. We've said text messaging. We've looked at social media today. We've looked at pay-per-click. We've looked at how to get the upsell, as we talked about. You also brought up door knocking and direct mail.
Yeah.
Are there any other tactics that are making almost what we call a comeback? And I sort of say that in the sense where, again,
QR codes, 100%.
Ah, there you go. Okay, go for it.
That's one that's making a comeback. So QR codes, oh my God. If I did a whole webinar just on the different ways to leverage QR codes, which are totally free. And now that all of our phones work with just folding it up and it works, because before you'd have to have an app or something. It was just like too gimmicky. But now, especially in BC, where I'm at now, all of the restaurants have no menus. You have to use the phone on the table to get the menu. So it's training society on how to use these things. So if I was to be using QR codes, I would definitely be looking at updating your for sale signs, right? So the sign dangler underneath your for sale sign, you can have a sign dangler that says, I would say this, text featured to 905, 903. Oh, no, it would say, what is this, a for sale sign? So we would have the, for pictures, price, and info, that would be the big text. And then underneath it, it would say text featured to 905, 903, 5442. And that would just be random people texting me on my cell number, the word featured. And I would know that they're standing in front of one of our listings. On that same sign dangler, sign rider or whatever, I would have the QR code. And we were using QR codes, man, I don't know, was it 2012, 2010?
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
when did they come out? Yeah. Okay. So we were using QR codes on our for sale signs then, and we were racking up hundreds of clicks per listing, like 500, 600 clicks of people walking by. What?
They came in, they were cool, and then they disappeared pretty quickly, and people didn't know how to use them properly, and they weren't leveraging them the right way either. And then now signs. It's a great way that, I mean, it's come right back. And as you said, you can just open up your camera and it's right there, and you can really deliver a ton of information.
Yeah. Using them on any direct mail. If I had direct mail going out, I'd be including a QR code on all direct mail.
We've been doing that with kits since whenever they came out. We've had a unique, like every one of our clients has a unique QR code, which takes people right back to what was a mobile site back then, which is now just an optimized website, but it takes everybody to a website. Right. Yeah. Which essentially is set up to capture leads and et cetera. Right.
That the QR codes definitely made a comeback, whether people like them or not, or want to make fun of them. Don't use it then, and let me get all the leads. Go for it. I don't care. Well, I agree. They're dumb. They're quirky. They're whatever, ghetto looking, but they work and they drive traffic to us, and that traffic converts into dollars and contacts and sales.
Just like we said before, it's that whole thing about putting people, making the phone call and then doing the admin work of adding the notes and adding them in the database. And that's the stuff that most people don't want to do. And to what you just said, hey, then don't do it. Somebody else will do it for you, but not for you, for themselves. You just won't win. Right.
Right.
So Dan, speaking of winning, how do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Oh, dude. So I have an ongoing list of like my to-do list, and I only focus on one thing. So every day I have one carrot, my one big thing, because I've always like today I've got 4 or 5 other appointments. So that's 4 or 5 other hours of me being with other people, not fixing my own problems. Right. Mm-hmm. So I have a limited amount of time to deal with my own stuff. And so because of that, I can only do one thing at a time. And so I just make sure that I do 1 hour of chipping away at whatever that big rock is. And then the next day, 1 hour chipping away at that big rock. And I just keep chipping away at the big stuff. And then the smaller stuff just falls in place.
Cool, man. So it's just getting through what you set out to get done in a day.
Yeah, basically.
So final question here.
Oh, no. You heard it wrong, because I didn't say get it done.
No, I caught on to that. It's chipping away at it. That's the thing. Exactly. Yeah, so, okay. So let me go there for a second then. Okay. Because
nothing's ever really done.
Well, that's the thing. But now you've got these projects and you say, okay, excuse me. It's a big project. I have to get it done. I'm not going to get it all done in one day. There's just no way. So I'm going to set my schedule to get this thing done at this time. Because as you said, those other appointments, they're set in stone appointments. They're not just random. Hey, I'm going to pick up the phone now and spend an hour with somebody. Right. They are set in stone. So you've got this block of time that you've committed to chip away at that one project. You go into it, you don't finish it. What is your MO right after that then? Because you didn't finish it.
That's fine.
What do you do though?
For a reason.
Yeah, but what do you do? What's the next step on that then? How do we know to go back to that?
Oh, I mean, if I didn't finish it and I don't have time, I just circle back the next day. New day, new beginning.
So I'll schedule it in there again.
Yeah. It's all every day. I've got that one priority. I take a look at all my things, and they'll change, because maybe what's not a priority today, the reason it's not a priority is because I don't really need to deal with it till the 20th of the month. So I can kind of push it off. Yeah. But if I keep pushing it off, eventually that's going to be my number one, because it's time sensitive. And so every day you just have to keep rejuggling with what is your highest priority, and just put the time in. The outcome is going to happen.
So tail that into this then. Give me some last words here as we talk about, what everybody could be doing to get out there and really finish, this fall season, this fall market, the last sort of 4 months, last quarter almost of the year, and start the next year on a high note. What can they do to get out and build mind share to do that and just really take it to that next level? What last words or tips have you got for people?
The second thing I shared, the nosy neighbor alert.
Gotcha.
That's it. That's the magic bullet. Everybody likes all the other ideas, but if I was like, hey, if you want to thank me for making you a bunch of more money at a reduced cost, that's the answer.
Got it. Okay, cool.
And it's fun. It's a fun way of doing it. It's like I could be doing it in my pajamas, sitting on this couch, an hour a day is easy.
Dan, where can people find you, man? And I know you said you're going to share some of those links in the show notes after the fact. Please and thank you, and then send those to me too, and we'll get those into the show notes for the show that will syndicate to iTunes and everywhere else on Friday. Where can people find you though if they have questions?
My cell number is the best. Cool. I'll read it out. I just typed it in the chat, and my cell number is 905-903-5442. 905-903-5442. Anybody who's listening to this right now or in the future on a recording, doesn't matter. You could be watching this 3 months from now or 3 years from now. If you're listening to my voice right now, send me a text message at 905-903-5442. And I'm going to send you a link to book a half-hour coaching call, and it's free. And we'll just explore these ideas in more detail for you.
Wicked, man. Danny, as always, brother, we could keep going on and on and on because you're always a wealth of information with tons and tons of ideas, but keeping an eye on the clock there. And we do have to get on to some more coach calls for today as well. Thank you, man. It's always a pleasure speaking with you, and I appreciate all the time you spent with us on the podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to wrap up by saying, if anybody is listening and you are a part of a board, an association, or a brokerage, and you need public speakers, either live or on virtual events, David is the man. I've seen him personally rock the stage. And then I myself also am pretty comfortable on stage. So if you need to fill up your venue in the future, I just want to plug David and say, man, you're really pushing it with the podcast that you're doing. And you probably don't ask enough of that question. So anybody who's listening, and if you're a part of a board, an association, or a brokerage, and you're involved in the planning of events, David's your man, and I'm your backup.
I would first, I'd thank you for the kind words, Dan. Seriously, we're definitely buddies way outside of the podcast and everything else in the industry. Got a ton of respect for what you do out there and what you bring to the table. The ideas, the creativity, it is second to none. And I would take that word backup away and say to everybody who's listening, who just heard what Dan had to say, I have seen him on stage and stood beside him, had the honor to work with him there, and certainly no backup. Definitely a lead keynote role for any event that's out there. So, dude, it's always great working with you. I thank you sincerely for making the time today. Some wicked ideas that you came up with. And as we put the title out there, and Dan is titled, Marketing and Technology Expert. You guys all heard it here first. It's not just about the tech. It's not just about the old. It's about the old. It's about the new. And it really is about putting in the effort and having some patience to what you do. So, I encourage everybody, I hope you were taking notes on this one. And if you weren't, go back and do it again. Dan's info is in the chat here. It will also be posted on the feed for the live, as well as in the show notes if you're listening to this on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the popular platforms. So be sure to reach out to him. And if all that said, again, Danny, thank you, man.
You're either listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com, and while you're on my site, make sure to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle for Realtors. This is a 31-page ebook packed with a ton of tips and tricks for you. Plus, there's a ready-to-go 90-day social media content counter to help you build more mindshare so that you can get more market share. And if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching to help you get to your next level, just get in touch with my team. We'll set up a free consultation call, learn more about what you're looking to achieve, and, how we are going to help you achieve exactly that. Plus, if you're setting up an event for this upcoming fall and you're looking to get everybody kicked off, make sure you get in touch with our Mindshare Experience Coordinators. This way we can talk about your event, discuss how we can help add some value, keep everybody on the edge of their seats, and, light that room up for you. Again, get in touch with our Mindshare Experience Coordinators to discuss your Mindshare experience. Also, don't forget that our Push to 100 is on. All you have to do, and this is super easy, is go to ratethispodcast.com/Mindshare101. And if you haven't yet, connect me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan101. I want to thank Virginia Munden and the Buzz Conference for sponsoring today's episode. Be sure to visit their website, www.thebuzzconference. Follow them on Instagram at The Buzz Conference. Keep tabs on all of the amazing events they are always hosting. Make sure that you get the latest copy of the Buzz Digital Magazine. And do not forget to book your dates for September 7th and 8th for Disruption 2022 taking place in Toronto, Ontario. Of course, I also want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems for sponsoring today's episode. If you haven't checked this out yet,
Just go to my site, mindshare101.com, and click on marketing. This has been another episode of the Mindshare Podcast. Thank you for tuning in.